What's going on, people? Welcome to United View and welcome back. New season. I'm not going to say new show, but it's the return of a show that we started.
Back.
Yeah, it's back. We started it early last season. Then we were so busy. It was when we was finding our feet. It was when we was working out how the United View is going to work. And it just fizzled into the darkness. And so many people have said, where's the overview? Why can't we have it back? And the overview is back. It's back at Fridays at 6 p.m. as you're watching it now. Or if you're watching back and you're not sure when it is, every Friday, 6 p.m. And we're going to do it as like a preview for the games coming up and a little bit of, talking about what other teams have been doing, the latest topics of the Premier League. And as it stands with the transfer window still open, it's where we get a bit nosy. You know what I mean? Have a look at what other people are doing. What's going on over there? Oh, who they signed. How does that impact us?
Yeah, it was quite, last season, it was quite therapeutic, actually, because I wanted to talk about anything but United sometimes. It was nice to talk about other things and other teams. You go, oh, this big game happened. I'll talk about this. Sometimes it's a nice change of pace, isn't it? To talk about another team or talk about the other happenings, especially when you're talking about success or other people doing worse than you. It's kind of nice, isn't it? And it's football. It's talking about football like you'd be talking to your friends, like talking to mates. Hey, did you see what happened in the Premier League this weekend? Oh,
exactly.
Look at that VAR decision. It's fun.
It's what all football fans usually do. I know we're quite tribal about our teams, but everyone's kind of got an opinion on everyone else. That's just how it is. No one ever says, oh, don't talk about us. Look at your team. Well, some people do say that, but it's tribal. We've got to have a laugh. And if there's people and banter to be got that isn't just us, we have to take it. You know what I mean? If Arsenal lose tonight, we have to jump in and laugh. That's just what it is. There wouldn't be anything better than them losing tonight. But I do think they're going to win, and we're going to get into that as the first game. But smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, just to let you know about this show going forward. We're going to have opposition fans, not even just opposition, just fans from other teams coming onto the overview to talk about it as well. Some different YouTube personalities as well. Hopefully some ex-pros and some pundits and stuff like that. So there's a lot planned. But we've got to kick it off with the best duo here as well. So that is me and Owen. Forget KG. Yeah, no need to throw shade at him. I just wanted to because he called me earlier for no reason when he shouldn't have. So there you go. There's been a lot, obviously, away from Manchester United. We're going to get into Arsenal first. Because obviously City with HAALAND and Liverpool with Nunez at the pinnacle of the Premier League, the top end. But Arsenal, if you speak to them, everything's great. Obviously, Jesus is literally Jesus. He's had an amazing preseason.
Literally Jesus.
Yeah, he's basically Jesus. They don't even really want to call him Jesus. It's only because Brazilian. They've all worked out a pronunciation now. But really, he's their Jesus. He's their savior. And everything's going to be all right. And they're going to beat Palace really easily. And they're going to finish third comfortably. But in all honesty, the pressure is on Mikel Arteta. And they do look good in preseason, and Gabriel Jesus does look good because that's what I like about the show. We will be biased and laugh and be petty, but also when it gets to talking about the actual point, we will be unbiased. And they do look good in preseason, and Jesus does look good. What's your thoughts about Crystal Palace versus Arsenal first game of the season, and just Arsenal in general?
I think it's a banana skin. I really, really do. And I think whilst the Arsenal fans that I'm friends with and we're friends with that I've spoken to, I would say confident, or they're more optimistic than I think they would be usually. You have to remember, last time they went to Selhurst Park, what happened? They lost. And Patrick Vieira, and it was sort of right in the middle or the beginning of that sort of collapse into messing up fourth spot. It was when they lost those two games. It was Palace and someone else, I forget. And then they had to beat the big teams. And they did beat the big teams. They beat Chelsea. They beat United. So they're somewhat confident.
It was Brighton as well, was one of them.
I think it was Brighton, yeah. And they've had a good transfer window, one that they're happy with. Jesus, Zinchenko, good signings. They're very confident in terms of their last game at the Emirates preseason. They beat Sevilla 6-0. And again, congratulations, Arsenal, for winning the league before it's even started. I think it's incredible. They've lost their top of the league spot to Bournemouth. So they're not even top anyway at the moment. I would not be stunned.
Why have they lost it to Bournemouth?
Because Bournemouth, alphabetically, it's AFC Bournemouth.
Oh, the AFC. I was thinking B. I was like, what? Bournemouth?
Yeah. AFC Bournemouth.
So the AFC Bournemouth. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So they lose. They're not top of the league anymore. They don't even have that. So they've got to win tonight to get back to their top spot that they would usually have at the beginning of the season. But the expectation is that they would win. But honestly, I'm going to start off with a bit of a reckless KG prediction. I don't think they'll win. I think Palace will win. I really, really do. I think the pressure is on. Clearly, the pressure is on. And how well have Arsenal dealt under pressure? Not even just the last 12 months, but historically. Not great. Last year, they kicked off the Premier League away to Brentford. Different situation. They had a lot of players out, and the Brentford Community Stadium was rocking and all that kind of stuff. But I really do think Palace are going to win tonight. I really do. Wilfried Zaha is going to do a madness.
I feel that I can get behind everything you said. I want that to happen. And there is every chance it could, because it is still Arsenal. You don't know. And Palace, let's not be disrespectful to them. Big shout out to all the Palace fans watching here. They're cooking as well. I don't know if they've had the greatest summer, but Vieira's trying to kick on to that next stage. He said in his press conference yesterday that they're still a little bit short on numbers. That was from the horse's mouth. He actually said that. So they're not where they want to be. But he did say, I've got a good group of players. And even if it's based off the players from last year, like you said, the likes of Zaha, Eze's fully fit now. You got Elise, you got Mateta, you got Schlupp, who's at it. There is no Conor Gallagher though.
I was just about to say that is going to be a miss. That's going to be a miss.
And clearly. I think that Arsenal will win the game. I think that because I don't think they're going to have the season they think, i.e., like finishing third, it's all rosy. But I think they start good. I think they start good because it pushes the Arsenal gas. See, we said it. They all laughed. Look, Jesus scored 2. See, and then it will get to a point at some point in the season where it gets rocky, as it inevitably does. But I do think they're going to have a largely positive season. I just got a feeling about them. But you can't 100% back that because it's still Arsenal. Do you know what I'm saying? But I just feel they'll get the job done tonight. I think Jesus, he just looks really good. He looks like exactly what they've been missing. I know you were saying when they were linked with him, and you was like, really? Hey, Jesus, I'm not really.
Yeah, I
doesn't
remember,
really faze me.
Yeah, he was linked to Arsenal as early as like April. It might have been right after or just before we played him in April last season. And I remember not really being phased. I mean, honestly, and this isn't a shade towards Arsenal. I thought that is the most Arsenal signing of a player that has had success in the Premier League, i.e. he's won the league, but they signed a striker who, when he was at his previous club, played with a striker. They played him out wide, and maybe this will be the revelation for him in his career. I also remember, what's the South American journalist, Vickery, his last name?
Tim Vickery.
Tim Vickery. Remember he saying a story saying, he played the World Cup for Brazil. It might have been 2018 and didn't score any goals. And it came to a discussion of, where do you think you're best? Where do you want to play, striker or winger? And he said to the Brazilian coach, I want to play as a winger. And everyone took that as, he's taking himself out of the firing line a little bit. He might succeed. In pre-season, he's done very well. But pre-season's one thing. There's no excuse for Arsenal not to win tonight. Previously, you could say in previous years, the reason they might not have won the opening game of the season was injury, inexperience, young squad, or mentality. But they've signed players who are used to winning things in Zinchenko and Jesus. Like the fragility should be lesser, and the scars of last season should toughen them up.
That's why I think when you're saying it's the most Arsenal-like signing, that's why I'm like, well, yeah. It is, and they need that. To be fair to Arsenal, in defense of Arsenal, I never want an excuse to defend them, but since you've gone that side, I'll give the other side. In fairness to them, that was the biggest criticism labelled at their doorstep. You're inexperienced, you haven't got winners, you haven't got people who knows what it takes. And although they wasn't City's best players, they're surplus, but their level is so high, I get that. But the impact that they will have on that Arsenal team is they fully level Arsenal up. You can't say that. I know, well, you could say it because you could say, well, mate, you ain't played a Premier League game yet, so I don't know. I get that. But on the premise of it, and when you look at pre-season and you look at how Jesus has taken to them and what he's brought already, you've got a very good indication that he will level Arsenal up a lot. They haven't had a player like him. And the same with Zinchenko. He'll level them up just by being flipping fit, just by being available, because Kieran Tierney's never available.
Exactly. And he can play anywhere as well.
Exactly. So, and they wanted Martinez, didn't get him, and they got a cheaper option, and he can play just as many positions. So he levels them up. So I think they have got two players that they badly need. I don't know a lot about Vieira. I don't know a lot about him, but he's been injured throughout pre-season, so he won't be involved. But I just feel like they do need more. But and the return of Saliba as well. Saliba's been an absolute revelation. Not a revelation to the Arsenal fans because they've known how good he is. They've been wanting him to come back for ages.
The longest time, yeah.
The longest time. It's his third year. I think he spent 3 years away from Arsenal since he came. So, he needs to come in. He's looked strong in central defence. And I think Ben White's been going to right back, especially with Tomiyasu being injured. So I think they get the job done. And I think actually you got to be fair to them. They've gone to address what they needed. And they've spent the most money. Do you know they have spent the most money
for the last couple of years, haven't they?
Exactly.
The last couple of years, yeah.
So there's nowhere to hide, nowhere to shy away from it. The pressure's on, but like you said, Arsenal are a different team when the pressure is actually on their respect. They're far better when they're expected to do less.
It sets the tone. It will be if Arsenal win and win comfortably, people will go, "Oh, I'll tell you what, actually, maybe this year, not that they're going to win anything, but tell you what, this year maybe they have changed." If they lose, it's the conversation of, well, same old Arsenal, same.
Exactly.
And the thing is, that was the conversation at the end of last season. Going towards the end of last season, I myself went, I tell you what, I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to get fourth. Fair play, they've changed. And then they messed it up and you went,
But then if
Arsenal.
I said to you, if they had the likes of Jesus and Zinchenko in that team, would they have got over the line maybe? Could you argue?
Possibly, because in fairness to them, definitely against people like Newcastle, injuries absolutely killed them off. They went into that game with a lot of people missing. And from what we can see, is it, like you said, Zinchenko is mostly fit, and so is Jesus. So, and Arteta has worked with them before. So it's fascinating. It's a great opening game.
Yeah. Having said that, give me your prediction.
A score prediction?
Yeah, score prediction, yeah.
I'm going to go 2-1 Palace.
Okay, 2-1 Palace. I'm going to go... Arsenal keep it... I'm going to go... Palace can hurt them. I'm going to say 2-1 Arsenal. 2-1 Arsenal. Smash the like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I should have said this at the top of the video, actually. We have got a Fantasy Premier League set up. We've set one up, United View Premier League. So the link will be in the video description below. And later on in the show, we're going to show you our teams and see how that fares up against yours. So yeah, make sure you guys wait and see about that. But the link's in the video description below if you want to see. Let's go on to Tottenham. Oh no, sorry, that's Tottenham. Let's go on to Tottenham. I saw the knots and thought, I don't know, got a bit dyslexic there. Tottenham versus Southampton.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Tottenham's transfer window. Because again, you've gone in a bit of a different direction when you're like, yeah, well, they've had a good window-ish, but let's not act like it's X or Y. But a lot of people, like I said, I've heard shouts that Tottenham can finish above Liverpool.
I think that's a massive ask. I mean, again, I've just got the window up in front of me. So they've signed Perisic on a free, Fraser Forster on a free, Basuma, I agree, great signing, 35 million. No brainer. But I think there's rumours he might not be fit actually for the weekend. He might miss out through injury. Richarlison, 60 million. I'm not the biggest Richarlison fan, to be honest.
But is that just him because of but
no,
it's
nothing to do with personality. It's nothing to do with personality. Right, okay. I think you actually like when you got those kind of players on your team.
Yeah,
is one of those people was like an Ander Herrera. You don't like him unless they're your player. I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with that with Richarlison. I just think that I'm not sure the level he's really at. I felt that his level was Everton when they're a top 6, top 7 side. I don't know if he comes into this Tottenham side and massively improves them, but they need strength and depth. That's really what they need, isn't it? You're looking at someone like you're looking at Kane and Son. Having Richarlison maybe as a backup isn't the worst thing, actually.
But not even just backup. Like sometimes they can come in and out for Kulusevski. Like sometimes Kulusevski might not start and Richarlison will.
Yeah. But they got Lenglet from Barcelona on loan and Spence from Middlesbrough. A lot of people are raving about the transfer window for them. I don't know if it's quantity over with quality, though, if that makes sense. Because, look, there's a lot of people there. And quantity is never the surefire thing for success. If anything, I think historically, quantity and the manager not doing well does correlate. Now, Antonio Conte, when he's backed, he does well. He wins things. Winning something with Tottenham, I think, would be the biggest thing he'd ever done in his career. Because just how
just because it's Tottenham,
well, and just you think about it, everywhere else he's been and he's won things, you expect them to win things. Where he's been, whether it's Milan, whether it's or Inter rather, whether it's Chelsea, whether it's Juventus, they're expected to win things. Tottenham, that's a different kettle of fish. Are they going to have this great season? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know if I see it. I think they'll be better. I think they'll be better because they had a Conte pre-season, and we saw parts last season of how he wants them to play. They did play well, and but. I don't know. I think some people are overhyping the damage they can do this season, but I do expect
Yeah.
them to win at the weekend.
So because you've gone with two negatives straight away. So it's my job to kind of give give the other side a little bit. You know, if you look what he did with that team without any signings and no backing, and he
Wow,
only got a
we
little
say
bit of
that.
backing.
We say
Well,
that. He did
hold
get.
on. He got fourth. He got fourth. You could say it's because Arsenal was shit and we were shit and whatnot.
I was
They
more
got
saying about him being backed. He did get back. He was
Oh, yeah,
complaining
that's what I
initially,
was
and
going
he
to
got
say.
back.
He didn't get back, but then in January, yeah, that's it.
He
With
did.
no back in, then in January, he got Bentancur and Kulusevski. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they look what he did straight away when he got back. Two players, identified two, and they both had a massive impact on Spurs. Now he's had the whole summer to plan. He got them fourth, £150 million war chest. You know, I was speaking to some Tottenham fans, and they've said they can't believe that Enick and Levy and stuff, they're putting their money in their pockets and they're actually backing the manager. And they have to with this type of manager. He's not going to come around again and get
Well, he'll walk.
a chance of
He'll
someone as
leave.
good as Conte. And if it goes shit, he'll just fuck off. He will. He'll just go, right, I'm out, mate. See you later. This is crap. Nearly did it last season. So they have to go all in. And on the other side of the coin to what you were saying is that, you know, you add those bits of quality in and around Son and Kane, who are always constants, who are always going to deliver. You have to say that they always deliver every single year, Golden Boot contenders. And assist contenders. They're just up there and they're like the most deadly duo ever in the Premier League, I think I saw.
Something like that,
I
yeah.
mean, unbelievable. So you add a little bit to that, so it's less reliance on them and give depth. And you've got a
Well, because
world-class
Kane will
manager
get
from the
injured.
start.
Kane will
Kane will
get
get
injured this
injured,
season.
always does. And you add a world-class manager into that, arguably the third best manager in the league on merit, arguably, you could say. Between him and Tuchel, you could say, but I would
And
probably say
trophies.
Conte and trophies. He's the third best. And it's like, well, I'll tell you what, mate. Listen, Tottenham can seriously cook this year.
But where do they
If it
finish?
falls into plan, like they should cook. I think they're in the top four.
I would say
They don't finish above Liverpool. Not in
no,
hell
it's
chance.
my thing. They should do better than they did last season. The issue is that's third for me. You know, they
Yeah.
finished fourth.
Yeah.
That's third, but I don't see them getting close to City or
No.
or
Third in
Liverpool.
the trophy though for Tottenham would be amazing.
I would say that they're one of the rare teams in the Premier League that I think can absolutely defeat City or Liverpool home and away. They can do that.
Especially
100% they can do that.
And they was doing it last year. Do you know what I mean? So there you go. So score prediction. Well, we didn't really speak about Southampton really quickly. Hasenhuttl, I think, has got it all to prove because he keeps going through these up and down moments. Looked like he was nearly out last year.
A couple of times.
And then he managed to pull it back round. They get their customary 9-0 battering or 7-0 battering. But overall, I mean, Southampton's usually, you know, it looks like a well-run club. They have a good production line. They stay competitive. On your day, you can have a difficult game down at St. Mary's, but on other days, you can absolutely batter them. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get. And I think the biggest thing for Hasenhuttl is to establish that, like a continuum, something that they can maintain some sort of equilibrium as to know what you're going to get. Because right now, it's random. You don't know what Southampton you're going to see.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get relegated or anything like that. I
No.
think they'll have points where they get in trouble, like they always do, and there might be points where the season ends and you go, actually, they did finish like 16th, 15th, or something like that. And you go, actually, that was a little bit closer, but I don't see any real purpose of them getting rid of Hasenhuttl either, to be honest. I know some people might say, oh, if it doesn't go well again this season, or they go through, like you said, those ups and downs, or they get another big result against them, who else are they going to get that's any better than Hasenhuttl? Hasenhuttl is a really good coach. So I don't see them get relegated or anything like that. I think that there could be some dark days because that's what happens with Southampton. But on the same vein, they do weird results. They go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and win.
They went to
Randomly.
City and they got 2 draws against City.
Yeah, and you go, where did that come from? You know, but I don't suspect. The only thing you could say is just that opening day fixtures. There's always one which you go, did not see that one coming at all. And you know, Tottenham, Southampton. The more you think about it, you go, oh, you never know. But I think Spurs will win. I'm going to go with 3-0. I think it'll be emphatic.
That's Spurs as well. I'm going to match you on that 3-0. I think just Southampton's ins. They got Kotchap from Bochum, 9.5 million have spent on him. Romeo Lavia from Man City, 12 million. Don't really know who he is. Joe Aribo from Rangers. He was good last year, central midfield.
That's what's
10
wild with
million.
City, isn't it? They've just got people in there that can go for 12 million,
12,
decent money.
15 million.
And you
Never
go,
paid
never
him.
heard of them.
Yeah, they got another one here.
Them.
Gavin Bazzano, 15 million. You
Good
know,
money.
so
Really good. I'd take
unbelievable.
that.
Yeah, I saw Eric Bailly. He was tipped to go for 8 million. I was reading the other day. So there you go. Yeah, I'll match you with that 3-0. Let's go to Everton versus Chelsea. Let's start with Everton. Actually, it's easy to start with Chelsea.
Fascinating.
Let's go with Everton because Everton have had an awful pre-season. I saw them get absolutely trounced by, was it Minnesota or was it DC United?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
MLS teams,
really
4-0. Calvert-Lewin now injured, not looking good. Might be like 5 weeks. Again, can't rely on him. Sold Richarlison, but they have bought in Dwight McNeil. They have bought in Tarkowski.
Yeah.
Who else have they bought in? There's one more that they've made, and they are looking to add some central midfielders. I think Onana was going to go to West Ham. Looks like he's going to be going to Everton now. And who was the other guy? Again, getting him back. And Vinagre, that's who they bought in. Who was, I'm sure he was on loan at Wolves before, but he's from Sporting.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So he's gone there on loan as well. So another loan for him. But they got Dwight McNeil, James Tarkowski. They had to sort out that back line, and probably still got work to do there. But only made 3 signings. How do you see the pressure on Lampard this year? Massive pressure.
I think he'll struggle. I do think he'll struggle. I don't know how long I see him actually staying there, to be honest. I think that he was brought in to try and turn it around with Rafa and all that kind of stuff last season, same from relegation. And ultimately he did, and they did get big results. There were several times when it looked precarious. They beat us and we were terrible against them. They beat Chelsea at Goodison Park. It was an unbelievable result. The game that saved them, they were losing and they turned it around, dramatic scenes. So that's one thing.
At home, they put up an atmosphere and can get a bit going. But
that was at home in terms of a relegation fight of the unthinkable could happen. This is a season now with expectation of, well, that was last season. That was just something going wrong where we should be back to being Everton, a mid-table, higher than mid-table side. And I just don't see that this season. I really don't. I think they could be not involved in that relegation fight, but I think they can be in that lower part of the table again. I don't see anything in that team or the signings that they've made that make me go, oh, okay. I don't see that. The only thing I think that they have going for them, like you said, is the atmosphere, is Goodison Park. They beat Chelsea there last season, but Chelsea that day were really, really poor, I remember. Yeah. And that was a Chelsea side that had really already qualified.
Gave the ball to Richarlison.
And they'd already qualified pretty much for top 4. They were going through the motions, plus all of the other stuff that was going on with the club at the time. Was it even going to exist? The embargoes, the transfers, and all that kind of stuff. So I really think that Everton might be going for another manager in a couple of months' time. I really do.
Yeah, it's just a bit of an odd fit there at Everton. I think the pressure's on Lampard massively. I think just because I think the pressure's on him more so because the jury's still out on him as a manager. You look at what he did at Derby. He did okay, gets to the playoffs, falls short. Got to play a final, lost, should I say. Goes to Chelsea. You raise your eyebrows, but you're like, all right, okay, the club connection and he's legend there. He does okay in his first season with no expectation in a transfer embargo, spends 250 million, awful. Then he gets an Everton job where you're thinking even that's probably a bit too high. You probably rebuild again, maybe Norwich or something like that. You thought, oh, wow. Could see why he took it because he thought, oh, I've got to take that. Then he's in the relegation battle and took over them, I think, in 16th and maybe even finished 16th.
There wasn't any dramatic...
There wasn't
improvement, really,
and really it was a massive decline first because they were stumbling. They're in free fall, and the home form dragged them through. So then lost on the last day, I think 5-0 to Arsenal once they'd already confirmed their status. But no, tough for Frank Lampard. So I think jury's out. Let's get to Chelsea. I'll start off by saying, look, as it stands now, I think they're in trouble because they've gone through a lot of change in a short space of time. Todd Bowley's appointed himself judge, jury, and executioner. You think
Chelsea are in trouble?
Well, as it stands now, I think they're in trouble because I think that they don't have a striker. That's a big problem for them. I think even going for Cucurella, I know you can say it's squad depth and stuff like that, but for 60-odd million, do they need him? Ben Chilwell's back fit now, and Reece James is obviously back fit, and I just feel like Koulibaly, on paper, with the attributes, you say yes, that's good, looks strong, but there's no guarantee it's going to work in the Prem. So you have to ride with that. Sterling, I think, is a brilliant signing, brilliant signing. And what I was going to say is I think people have written Chelsea off because I haven't. I think they're in trouble as it stands, but there's still loads of time left in the window, 20, 25 days. And they will sort it out. They will get a striker. I think they will shift out Werner or they will do what they need to do because I just think they will. So what my thing was going to be was everyone's written off Chelsea as an automatic not in the Champions League straight away because they're going through this process and Tuchel got away with it last season. They ain't got a striker and Arsenal, Spurs are doing so well. My thing is that still Chelsea, still Tuchel, they've still got good players. They need a bit of a refresh. They've started with 2 players. And I think because people have seen them miss out on Koundé, then miss out on Rafinha, they're thinking they can't get their targets, But I just think by the end of the window, they'll be okay. But right now, I think they still need more.
I would agree they need more. I don't know if I agree that they're in trouble. I think the reason why it might go bad for Tuchel is that with anything, when you get new owners, is they're not the owner's guy. Now, Tuchel is still there because there's affinity for him. He won the Champions League. But make no mistake, if it is a little bit of a stumble, I'm sure in the back of Todd Bowley's mind, he's got the manager ideally he would want. His guy that he'd go for, right? I'm sure that would be the case.
He might like Tuchel. He might think he's...
No, but I'm not saying he doesn't. But I'm saying Todd Bowley wanted to sign Cristiano Ronaldo because in his mind he thought he's the best player ever. I'll sign Cristiano Ronaldo, and I do think in his mind he's got I know my ideal manager. And I can't see his ideal manager being Thomas Tuchel. It must be said, but you couldn't say that Tuchel hasn't been back this summer. Again, those signings, Cucurella was almost a surprising one because it was always the assumption he was going to go to City, and they've picked him up. And again, that left back position. Look, but Chilwell has had issues with injury, and Alonso was playing a lot of games last season because, of course, Chilwell had that really bad. It was a knee injury, wasn't there? And I think it's a good signing. Maybe it's slightly overpriced, 60 million, like you said.
Way
Sterling,
overpriced. Been in the League once 1 year.
I think
Unbelievable.
Sterling's a good, obviously a great signing. Koulibaly. Look, if you signed him 3 or 4 years ago,
you don't know.
But
imposing,
at the same time, he's still got pace, and his pace doesn't come from he's rapid. His pace comes from the size of him. He is a big guy, big, long stride.
He'll be in a back 3 as well, so he should be quite
in a back 3. And
Silva
also, people said that about Thiago Silva when they came in and go, yeah, but old, that kind of thing. Mate. Granted, didn't sign him for 33 million, but I think that'll be a decent signing. I think, like you said, they haven't resolved what was their biggest issue last season, which was striker.
But it ain't just striker. The thing is with Chelsea, and I think that's why Raheem Sterling is key. But they need goals in that front 3. Kai Havertz's maximum goals was I think his top score was 9 goals. Mason Mount was their top scorer with 11 goals last year. And that's Mount. He's a midfielder. So it's that front 3, Werner flattered to deceive, Lukaku awful, and Ziyech just up and down. Don't know what you're going to get. There's 3 players there that are massively underperforming. And then you look in midfield, some still say that Kante's, declining at a rapid rate. You look at Jorginho, could you freshen up there? Kovacic, they've got Conor Gallagher back though. He'll stay, he'll play. They've still got Loftus-Cheek. You're trying to get something out of him, but they probably still need a midfielder as well for me. So, yeah, but I think write Chelsea off here. But that whole thing of Chelsea definitely ain't going to make top 4, and I disagree.
Done.
It's still Chelsea, man. They've still got a solid on their day when their players are there. Even when it was the misfire in front 3 of last year, it's tough to beat Chelsea, mate.
Yeah, I agree. I think Chelsea will still be Chelsea. I think they'll still be quality. I think they will sign a striker. It's just a bit of an unknown because what strikers really are there to sign at the moment? There aren't a ton. That's why when people like Šeško get brought up, I think they're involved in that conversation because they're probably looking around going, actually, who do we get? Who is available right now? Strikers become a specialist position. So, but I'm with you. Write them off at your peril. And I think they'll beat Everton.
Go. What's your score prediction?
I would say 2-0, but 2 goals is a lot for Chelsea, to be honest. But I'll go for 2-0. What about you?
Everton, first home game, running around, energy, loud. 4:30 Sunday, I think it is. Or whenever it is on Sunday, I think. Everton, good as
it's actually the evening kickoff tomorrow, so you can get potentially under the lights.
Saturday. Oh, right. Sorry. So under the lights, Goodison. I think Everton could surprise us. Draw. I don't think they'll be as rubbish as we think they will be over the whole season because it's the first game. There's a bit of optimism. like we're out of that relegation thing. Come on, the boy, like just under the lights. I just think,
See, I differ.
yeah,
I could see Everton being 2-0 down 20 minutes and then be like, oh
yeah,
god, and
yeah,
it
yeah.
ending
It
2-0.
could happen. I'm gonna go with draw to mix things up. I'll go with draw. Go with draw. I like this game. West
I
Ham
do
versus
as
Man
well.
City.
I'm excited
I
about this
like this
one.
game. West Ham at the London Stadium is always difficult to beat. They beat Liverpool there last year. Could have beaten us easily if that game went differently.
Drew with City.
Drew with
City had to
City.
come back 2-0. They were 2-0 down at half time.
Exactly. Joe Burrow and Torre, an absolute new one. And its first game of the season, and made a couple of signings as well. We'll get to Man City in a bit, but very quickly on West Ham, how you seeing them?
It will always be difficult. It will always be difficult. I mean, it's funny because David Moyes tends to have sort of these kind of, they've signed Scamacca, big sign. I don't think he's going to play though. I saw them say that he might not play, he might not be available. They've got Areola back once again, who I think is a decent keeper. How do you pronounce that guy's name? Agwood from Rennes for
Aguard.
30
I'm saying Aguard.
At
Aguard. I'm
30
going to say
million, a lot of money spent. They've
a lot of
kept
money. That
Declan
yeah.
Rice, importantly, as well. I think they'll still be there and thereabouts, West Ham, this season. The last couple of seasons, they've been pushing for the Champions League. Don't think they'll get it again. But I still think that come, say, like December, they'll be involved in those European conversations because it's no fluke anymore, really, is it? When you're involved in sort of those sort of European discussions for 2 and a bit seasons, clearly it's not a fluke. And it's a weird one because you never thought that David Moyes and West Ham would be a match made in heaven, but it appears so. And the expectation for the West Ham fan base is massive, isn't it? It really is, which is surprising considering, in terms of historically, they haven't won a ton and they haven't had a ton of success, but the expectation is massive because the fan base is big. When it comes to the game at the weekend, I think it's a really tough one to predict, honestly, Flex. Historically, City can be quite slow starters.
Slow. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they did last season against Nunez Spurs, not even the good Spurs, Nunez Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So I wouldn't be shocked if West Ham get a draw or possibly nick it. I would not be stunned in that one. West Ham will be right up for it as well. They'll be aware that they can give them a game because they gave them a game towards the end of last season. And if anything, West Ham kind of stumbled a little bit because City were all over the place in that first half. And that's when I was really worried. I thought Liverpool were going to win the quadruple. I was absolutely terrified. And David Moyes knows what to do in those kind of games, doesn't it? Against Pep, what do you do? Make it rough. Let's just make it
rough. Counter up with pace.
Yeah.
Darryl Bowen going down one side, Antonio running his ass off through the channels. Declan Rice bang in the tackle. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's a good game for West Ham to have early on, actually. Get it out of the way.
Yeah, get out of the way, 100%.
And it's a free hit first game of the season. Whether you win, lose, or draw, it doesn't really matter. Obviously, everyone wants to get off to a win, but losing against City won't be a catastrophe on the first day of the season anyway. And on to Man City, I would say that, it's all about Haaland, isn't it? It's all about Haaland. Every missed chance, every mistake, every time he misses the target, or every goal he scores is going to be, whichever way it goes, it's going to be hyped up. It's going to be extenuated. It's all about Erling Haaland as their main signing, and maybe Alvarez, who they signed a while ago, who we thought we was in for. Maybe he could be the undercover one as well.
Maybe Calvin Phillips as well involved in that.
Phillips.
Who I don't know how much he'll play, to be honest, this season. He's definitely when Calvin Phillips goes into City, he's a squad player, 100%.
But if Bernardo Silva goes, he might play a lot more. And even in general, they could play Rodri and Phillips together with De Bruyne.
Maybe he thinks of him as a Fernandinho-esque replacement. I'm not sure. But the Haaland one, to be honest, look, I thought the criticism of Haaland last weekend for the Community Shield stuff, I thought was really harsh. I mean, look, the misses that happened, the one in the first half where it was his technique to go for that ball with his wrong leg in midair where he could have just headed it was odd. The one in the second half with the rebound, he has to score. It's a shocking miss, and he knows it. He hits the bar. It's a shocking miss. But to write him off is just as ludicrous as writing Darwin Nunez off because he had a couple of misses in preseason. And he also scored a hat-trick in preseason, by the way. And
4 preseason.
Those, and I saw Jamie Carragher tweet about it, and he was spot on when he said that the same people writing Haaland off are the same people that were making compilations about Nunez, and people got really angry about that.
I don't understand that outrage.
I didn't get.
Right.
I didn't. Yeah, he was, and it's true. And I was all thinking about putting a tweet out, and I thought it's really not worth it. But
it's just gonna come to you.
When it just goes to show that you're missing the point because I saw some people saying, trying to say it as, oh, you're discrediting fan opinion. And I was like, well, no, if anything, he's just pointing out stupidness. One bad game does not make a bad player. Erling Haaland,
I think what people think,
goals.
He will a ton loads, a shed loads. But like, I think what people were saying, like, oh, Jamie, like, lighten up. It's only a bit of fun. Like, no one really means it. They're just doing it.
But it's not. It's not though, because like you said, some people, and it's true. Like some people don't mean it, and they're just trying to be like, see, great player. But some people legitimately do see those clips, and they'll go, oh, actually, he's rubbish. And you go, you kidding me? Like, well, clearly he's not. Now, can he adjust to the way that Pep plays? It's an odd one for me because I don't see Erling Haaland go, oh, that's a Pep Guardiola player. Like City have to change how they play to play with, well, one, just a striker in general, because they haven't for 2 years, 2 and a bit seasons, but to a striker like Erling Haaland. Now, he did it successfully at Bayern Munich with Robert Lewandowski. Lewandowski scored a ton of goals. At Barcelona, when someone like Zlatan came in, who people compared to Haaland, it did not work out. Zlatan was gone a year later, halfway through the season, he wasn't playing. So it is going to be an interesting one. The idea that he's going to adjust perfectly, I'm not sure if that's going to be completely smooth, but it's going to be fascinating to see nevertheless.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I think City kick into gear and nick this, though. It will be difficult. It will be tight. I'm going to go over 2-1 Manchester City. I think they nick it. They start slow. They always start
really slow. They do, and it's Super Sunday, last game.
West Ham.
I'm going to go 1-0 West Ham.
Yeah,
they lost, and also what happened last year. They lost City the Community Shield against Leicester on, was it penalties or no? They lost to, I think Iheanacho scored against them. Next week,
they
lost against Spurs. I'm going to go 1-0 West Ham. But City is still my pick to win the Premier League this season, by the way.
Yes, 100%. I'm gonna go to the opposite of you, just for entertainment purposes, and I'm gonna go 2-1 City. 2-1 City. Who else have we got? Let's talk about Newcastle. Because I think they've been really good in the transfer market in January and the summer. I think they've bought really well. They've bought in Sven Botman. They bought in Nick Pope, and they made Target permanent so far, and they're really, really pushing for James Maddison at the moment. 2 bids rejected. They're trying to really get him. They're showing good intent. And what I like about what Newcastle have done is Eddie Howe's clearly in full control of the transfers, or he's getting the back in anyway, because they're very Eddie Howe-like signings, especially the first batch in Chris Wood, in Trippier, in Dan Burn, in Matt Target. They're all signings that just make sense, and a couple of the players that he knows already. And then when you look at Sven Botman from Lille, he's a very good player. So people have been trying to get him for a while. He's a good player, man. You've got Bruno Guimaraes in there from the first set of signings as well, really good. Or looking like he can be like the Stardust on top. And then he's trying to push for a Maddison. So they're doing things in the right way. They're not getting carried away. And also they've got financial fair play. Newcastle can't just go and spend 500 million in a transfer window just because they do have that and could, but they can't, if you get what I mean. So they don't make that type of money. So they have to be in line with that. But I think they are in line for a good season. And when you talk about, those little flies, those little pests, you have to keep doing that around the top 6, top 8. I fancy Newcastle to be up there, right up there.
Yeah, the danger comes with Newcastle, like you said, is once they start generating that revenue or they start climbing the table enough that they can start spending big money, that's when you have to be really worried. It
changes.
That probably won't be this season. But look, towards the end of last season, people don't understand, like, City, I don't think Newcastle rather, didn't win a game till like the second half of the season or something ridiculous, till Eddie Howe came in. It was outrageous. And then they just didn't stop winning. Like their second half of this, their second half of the season form, if you carried that out throughout the remainder of the season, was like top 6 form. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying they're going to continue that this season, but they are, for me, a very safe bet to be a top half side, possibly even higher. And again, that's when the concern comes in, because if they start once they start getting higher and higher up the table, whether it's this season or next season or whatever, that's when they can start spending money. And that's ultimately when they're going to do well. I think I was quite surprised with Eddie Howe because I thought it was quite a shrewd appointment, but I also thought of it's a big job. There's expectations, there is money. But like you said, I think they handled it really, really well. Spent a lot of money in January. They spent the most out of anyone, so they were almost expected, I guess, to stay up. But this season's going to be the real test, and the expectations are going to be higher than they were when he came in. And it's going to be interesting to see how their owners react in the sense of what are their expectations now. The expectation when he first came in was just save the club,
Yeah.
keep him in the Premier League.
It's
What do
got to
they
be to push
expect
for
now?
Europe. Maybe
It's
like
got to
try and
be.
get
That's
into
what I mean.
Europa League, Conference
Yeah.
League, like it's any Europe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Seventh. If Newcastle can get in the top 8, let's say 7th, because that means you get something. Let's just say top 7. That would be a really good achievement.
And
for their
then
development.
clubs like us, United fans, we should worry because we must think.
That's what I'm
you know.
saying, because we're around that area from 7th to 5th. I think we're operating in. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about, the annoying pest that won't go away. So if you add a West Ham into that, it used to be Leicester who could put up those type of consistent numbers and be around that and gate crash and be difficult. I think they've gone in a different direction. We'll talk about them in a bit. But Newcastle is like they've replaced the new Leicester. They've become that, I think, or could. There's a gap for them to take that spot if they play their cards right. Let's quickly do Nottingham Forest. Let's start whizzing through these. Nottingham Forest have signed like 12 players. Hell of a lot of money
13,
spent. Yeah, 12, 13 players. Jesse Lingard is there. Henderson is there with the Man United links. How do you see that for them? Because you look at when Fulham, I remember, came out, spent 100 million, went straight back down. It's a difficult balancing act to kind of abandon. I'm not saying they didn't have to, because I remember listening to their manager last week and he was like, this was always going to happen.
Yeah, we had like players on loan and
Do you know
players
what I mean?
expiring
So
contracts.
that's
what we
fine.
Had to do.
They had to. They've got to construct a new team. So it's not like they've gone, shit, we're in the Premier League, do this. They clearly have to do it. And it could work, but also there is the downside that is very difficult to do and embed new players, never played in the league before, some of them, with players who've already been there.
And big wages. Look, Lingard's on a big wage. People like Henderson, they're covering all of his wage, which for a promoted club is wild.
Massive. I can't believe it. Yeah.
Is wild. But having a go for a look. It's great to have Forest back in the Premier League, isn't it? You know, historic club, big club, European Cup winner. They've been out of the league for such a long period of time as well. But they are still the promoted side that won the playoffs. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you always fail. People like Brentford did fine. Really well, yeah. But the sheer volume of players coming in, you question, their desire. You question, are they just here because we're a team in the Premier League and there's a lot of money, all that kind of stuff. Historically, like you say, it doesn't go well for those clubs that do that. QPR is another example of it. But they've got a good manager and they play good stuff. And look, their turnaround last season, when he came in, they were in the bottom 3 of the championship.
Exactly.
Ended up finishing 3rd or whatever. And at one point, people were discussing if they were to get automatically promoted. So they're a good side, but now they're a different side. I think Newcastle win this one fairly comfortably. I don't think Forest spring a surprise, but their games to win are going to come at home, I think, this season.
Yeah,
so I'm going to go Newcastle win. I'm going to go 3-1.
I'm going to say 3-0. I think Newcastle win that very easily. Yeah, pretty unanimous there. Leeds versus Wolves. Leeds staying up last season. Jesse Marsh has cemented himself now, made a few signings as well. Got Tyler Adams in. He looks really, really good. But they've lost their 2 best players, though, in Rafinha and Phillips. But, Jesse Marsh comes across really well, speaks well. I've seen a few of his interviews where he's basically saying it's about rebuilding now, and he thanks those players that have left. But he's ready to, paint his own image of Leeds United. How do you see that?
Different kind of Leeds now, isn't it? The Bielsa days are gone. Like you said, different players too. They lost their best players. They spent a lot of money though. They pretty much reinvested all the money that they got. I think they spent, was it 2nd or 3rd most in Europe or something like that?
They've got Tyler Adams, 20 million. Aronson, 24 million from Salzburg. Another Man City, 5 million. Never heard of him. Darko Gyabi. Christensen from Salzburg. So
it's players he knows as well. Clearly, it's the RB connection because he was manager of Salzburg, obviously manager of Leipzig. So players he knows. I think a couple of them are American internationals as well. Yeah. He knows clearly who these players are. Look, we saw how much they struggled without people like Phillips and Rafinha last season. So them gone permanently. It'll go one of 2 ways. And I know when I say these kind of things, people laugh and go, "Oh, obviously, Owen, stupid." But either it'll be a big success or they're in massive trouble. Because when these players hadn't played from last season, they were in huge trouble. So these players that he bought have to adapt. I don't know. I really don't know flex on this one, to be honest. But I do like Jesse Marsh. I think he's a good manager and he comes across very well.
Yeah, he does. On to Wolves. Wolves need a direction. Wolves need some consistency. They started off not so great under Bruno Lage, where you could see what they were doing and just couldn't score. Then they did really well. And we're looking like they were pushing, that Champions League / European spots. Then they just fell off. And so far, they've got Nathan Collins from Burnley for 20 million quid, and they made and they got Huang in on. I think they must have made that permanent because he was there last year, wasn't he? So he must be on. They must have made that loan
Seems light, doesn't it?
permanent.
Seems very light.
Yeah. Then they got Leon Chouameni from Wimbledon and Don Plank from Dorking Wanderers. So I don't know.
Do you
if
think
must
they were waiting for maybe to sell Ruben Neves and be like, if we sell him, we're going to invest that money? And of course, he's still there, so they're still
He's
waiting.
still there, and now they're like, nah, mate, don't even know if we can afford to sell him now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
100%. But they need a refresh. They've got to get a striker for me. Well, I know Huang is one, but there's too much reliance on Raul Jimenez.
Who's injured, I believe. I believe he might miss the game.
He's injured. Right, there you go. So, and Fabio Silva didn't work out. He's
gone
left
out on loan. Yeah.
So, I just think they need more. I even what's his face came back, didn't he? But is he going to go somewhere else from Barca?
Traore.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, even Connor Cody, I think, is being linked to Everton as well.
Yeah,
If they lost
exactly.
him, that would be a
so
massive.
A lot of work for Wolves to do that.
Yeah.
What's your prediction for this game?
I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to go with a draw, Flex. I'm going to go 1-1.
I think Leeds at home, first game of the season. Ellen Road rocking. I'm going to go with 2-1 Leeds. I like that. Bournemouth, Aston Villa. Scott Parker coming up with Aston Villa, with Bournemouth, sorry. Under Eddie Howe, that Bournemouth that he created, they had a high turnover of players. They did spend some big money on some players that didn't actually work out. But, he kept
they're a well-backed club. For a club that's got a small stadium, they've got, good finances. The issue is with them, like with other clubs that are well-backed, is they don't generate a ton of money, so they can't spend really what they actually have in their back pocket. I mean, even if you look at the business they've done this summer, the biggest one is Tavernier, but the rest are sort of freeze, undisclosed, and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, don't think they've done enough here.
No, I don't think
so.
so.
I worry they're going to struggle to stay in the league.
They're going with the championship gamble, aren't they? Going, well, let's see if the players can do it.
Exactly, and add a little bit onto that. Aston Villa, on the other hand, massive season for Steven Gerrard. Obviously, coming in halfway through last year. In the January, he bought in Coutinho and he bought in Cash. Sorry, what's his name? Digne. Bought in him. And looked to kick on, but it looked like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back for Steven Gerrard. But he always had that to fall back on, that, it's not his full team. He hasn't had a pre-season. But they go straight in. Diego Carlos, 26 million from Sevilla, highly tipped, good centre-half. I think they made the Coutinho deal permanent, 17 million. Boubacar Kamara on a free. We was tipped to go for him. A lot of Man United fans are saying go for him. Who else have they got? They got Augustinson from Sevilla on a loan. Olsen from Roma, and Rory Wilson from Rangers on the free as well. So, and they sold Chukwuemeka, who only made 2 starts for £20 million. Talking to Dan Barton at The Athletic, also a big Villa fan and does a lot of Villa content. I was asking him about that Chukwuemeka, and he was like, to be honest, mate, he's made 2 starts against Burnley and Brighton and didn't look good at all. Come off the bench in a couple of games and looked okay, but didn't really do anything. Said he wanted 100k a week, and Gerrard said no. And then Chelsea come in and spend 20 million. Crazy. So that's interesting. They've made some good money on him after he hadn't really achieved anything, but comes with a lot of prowess throughout the youth ranks as well, winning the youth cups and doing really well throughout their youth team. So, interesting. And obviously sold Matt Targett on a permanent for £15 million as well. So they made 35 just off a guy who only played 2 games and a guy that was already on loan. So decent money there. But how do you see it for Steven Gerrard?
It's quite a curious one, isn't it? Because there is a lot of expectation now because money's been spent. It's his side. Villa are a big club, and talk about also a club that's well back financially. They've got money to spend, and they have done it. I don't know. With Villa, I thought really underwhelmed under Gerrard. I mean, he came in, there was a little bit of a bounce. Remember when they played against us and Coutinho had scored that goal and it was 2-2 in the end, wasn't it? But I remember seeing them right towards the end of the season and they just didn't look there. Now, granted, we played them in pre-season. And the first half, we played rings round them. They played this diamond formation. There was no width whatsoever. They changed it at second half. Gerrard did, brought on Bailey, and they were sensational. They were absolutely brilliant. United weren't great, but they played really, really well. And I think that kind of sums up Villa. They're quite inconsistent. I don't know what the best system is. I think.
But then you saw what they did the second half against us, and
Yeah,
see
that's what I
that they
mean. That's what
can.
I
Yeah,
mean.
they can. Yeah,
They can.
yeah,
But I
can
just
do
don't know
it.
if we'll. I don't know if we'll see that all the time this season. I think they'll beat Bournemouth though. I think they'll beat Bournemouth.
They're
But
tipped. I saw a few people tipping Villa to like push for Europe. Like,
I don't
you know,
see that. I don't.
you get those things where it's like this one team's going to do really well. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
Leicester, sometimes it's Newcastle, it's West Ham, it's been Villa before. I remember when they got rid of Jack Grealish for 100 million and bought them players like Watkins and Bailey
People were saying they were
and
going to have a better
Shed,
season than Arsenal, didn't they? Remember that?
and then they fell off a cliff. So and then Dean Smith
Yeah.
got sacked.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you can't. It's really difficult. But yeah, okay, cool. I'm going to go with an Aston Villa win though. I think they win that. I think they win that 2-0.
I'm going to go with. Yeah, I'm going to go with 2-0 as well. I think Villa win.
Okay. I want to. There's about 10 minutes left of the show, so I want to get these done fairly quickly. We're going to leave Manchester United off of this.
Yeah,
because we've got the
preview.
we've got the preview coming out tomorrow morning, live at 9 a.m. So check that out. So if you're thinking, where's Man United talk? What's going on? This is United View. You get that all the time. This is about the other teams. Let's go for Leicester versus Brentford. Leicester, I think, are in massive trouble. They have made no signings. They had a bad season last year. Kasper Schmeichel's left. He's gone. And I think he's probably looked at it, and obviously he's been there a long time. He's a Leicester legend. He's won a lot. He's won stuff there. And been a great servant to the club. But he probably looked at it and thought, there's question marks over our biggest players. Tielemans looks like he's just waiting for that offer to come in anytime from Arsenal. It's like Arsenal just wait and see what they're going to do. Looks like that's going to come. Maddison is subject to 2 bids from Newcastle. For Newcastle to make 2 bids, there's got to be some encouragement there from the player side. You'll have to keep going. Pereira's just been labelled out for 6 months, 5 months, 6 months, torn Achilles. And somebody else was injured as well. It was 2 of them. I can't remember who the other person was.
And Fofana could be going to Chelsea as well.
And Fofana, he's been acting up on social media, putting some cryptic stuff as well. I think he put something like, first he put the picture of just like this thinking bubble.
Yeah, and I think he liked the Cucurella "Here we go" thing to Chelsea and all that kind of stuff.
Then the Leicester went out of his bio, but then it was like, that doesn't mean anything. And then he even put a thing of when people realize, it was like a cryptic thing of when people realize you start doing things for yourself, they no longer like you or something like that. A lot of cryptic stuff. He knows what he's doing. Probably trying to engineer a move. And if they lose Fofana, Tielemans, Maddison, and Schmeichel in one window,
with no
and they've
replacement,
got no right back they've got no right back for 5 months, in trouble.
They missed a moment, I think, Leicester. They had their 2 seasons where they were in the top 4 for pretty much the majority, like 90% of both seasons, and they didn't finish in the top 4. And that's killed them ultimately, because that squad was always aging. I mean, Brendan Rodgers was doing what he could. And I think also the impact that had on them mentally as well, of being, I think they had the longest cumulative time in the top 4 out of anyone for those 2 seasons. And they didn't qualify for the Champions League twice. Just think how different Leicester would be right now if they had back-to-back seasons in the Champions League. But massively different.
Just quickly, it's a bit off topic, but I know we're not talking about them now, but Maxwell Cornet has completed his move to West Ham. 17.5 million as well. So that's another one added to West Ham. Might change my prediction on that Man City game.
Honestly, I think West Ham will nick it. I really do.
Yeah. Sorry, but yeah, carry on.
But yeah, I think Leicester just missed their moment. They had opportunities to get in the top 4, and they were unlucky as well. With I think one of the seasons was the Project Restart season. They'd have probably got top 4 then as well. But on the flip side, Brentford, look, they played very well last season, played good football. Eriksen leaving is a massive miss for them, because whilst they played good stuff, once Eriksen came in, they actually started winning games. Like, there was a period of time where they were not winning games, but they were playing good stuff, but they weren't winning games. Eriksen came in January, turned things around. So him leaving is a big loss. But I think that both 2 sides of play great football, but I think Brentford are going to win. And I think then even more scrutiny comes on to Leicester of like, what are we doing? We got to do something.
Just quickly, I was just, while you're talking there, we've been getting obviously updates through as we're recording this of different press conferences coming from different managers. Actually, it's good timing. Brendan Rodgers on James Maddison, Harvey Barnes, and Wesley Fofana. Just listening to what he's saying there. These players are not for sale. We need to move players on, but certainly not our best assets. And we're looking to build, and these players are not for sale, he says. So there you go. To make of that what you will. But Harry Maguire was also not for sale. I remember that for a long time. He was not for sale. But Brendan Rodgers says he doesn't expect to
Who
sign
won
any
there?
players this summer. He also says, as things stand, I believe not. He says, Brendan, I do not expect to sign. He doesn't expect to sign any players this summer transfer window. Unbelievable. And you know what? Leicester is one of them clubs that are, renowned for being well run. But someone was saying to me that their finances have caught up with them because of after the pandemic, and they need to sell players in order to be able to buy.
Well,
But they
that's what I
can't
mean.
sell the
They
best
missed the
players
moment.
because,
If they'd have
yeah,
qualified top four, that Champions League money
mm,
2 seasons in a row, it'd be a different situation right now, massively.
yeah, it would. It really would. But that is remaining to be seen. Brentford, I just saw Thomas Frank say we're very much still in the market. I think they'll be getting Damsgaard over from Italy. He was really good in the Euros, I remember. Obviously lost Christian Eriksen. Brentford, do you think they're going to get a second season syndrome, or you think they will be okay again, go again, play exciting football and stay up again?
I think it'll be tight. I do think they'll stay up, but I think it'll be tight just because I look at the teams like maybe your Fulhams, maybe like your Forest, or just those newly promoted
The
sides that
three
I
that
think
came
will
up, yeah.
struggle. Yeah, that will struggle. I think Brentford, like I said, the thing was last season, wasn't it, is that they played good stuff, but it was only really when Eriksen came in that they put a bit of a run together, got big results away at Stamford Bridge, big results. I think, again, they've got a good manager at home. They're very good. Ivan Toney's still there, which is really important too. I think they'll just have enough, but I do think they'll beat Leicester tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna go. Leicester will still have them players as well, though. They're still there. But Brentford play bit down. They won't have signed any new players. Fans might be a bit draw. No, Leicester. I think Leicester win that game. I think Leicester beat Brentford. Yeah. What did you say?
I said Brentford will win. Ivan Toney.
Brentford will win. Ivan Toney. Okay. And there's one more game we haven't done. Fulham versus Liverpool. Liverpool always
Who
get the newly
cares?
promoted side.
Yeah, who cares? We know the result for this one, Flex. We know it's going to be
Marco Silva's
5-0.
Liverpool. All right,
5-0 Liverpool.
just quickly then. Darwin Nunez over Haaland. Darwin Nunez versus Haaland. Who scores more for you this year?
Haaland, because I think, I was going to say because Haaland played more games, but that's not necessarily true because he gets injured quite a lot. I think Haaland, because I think the main goal scorer at Liverpool is Salah. So that's my
Darwin Nunez
theory.
won't outscore Salah or anything like that.
No, I don't think Nunez scores more goals than Salah this season.
Yeah. And
what do you
for that
think?
reason, I don't think he'll outscore Salah either.
What about Haaland?
I do think there's a chance he can outscore Haaland. I just think by the sheer amount of chances that Liverpool create, they both create an unbelievable amount of chances. To be honest, there is no right or wrong answer with that. You just got to go with your gut. They're both really good players. I think Haaland is better than Nunez, but it's not even about that. It's about how they adapt to their respective teams and the league, isn't it? But Haaland versus Nunez is going to be fascinating. And actually, Jesus could get in there as well and just start sneaking in and start banging them in as well. Do you think Jesus will be anywhere near the Golden Boot or anything like that?
No.
You need to be careful with this Jesus thing. I know you're not feeling him as much, but he's going to do.
Oh no, he'll score goals. He'll score goals. I think he'll get, let's say, 15, which is a good return.
That's good.
But he's not going to be the top goal scorer in the league. I don't think he gets close to Salah or Haaland or even someone like Ronaldo, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if Ronaldo stays, scores goals.
Yeah, if Ronaldo stays, he's doing pretty much the same again. Fantasy Premier League code. There it is. The link is also in the video description below as well if you want to join our Fantasy Premier League. Now it's the time for the big reveal to look at our teams. We're going to get our teams up.
It must be said, by the way, Flex, just briefly, that at the end is a 0.
Yes.
It's a 0, not an O. It's a 0.
Does look like an O, actually, yeah. So what is that? IUG3L0.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But if you're not sure and you're watching it this minute, just click the link in the video description.
Yeah.
It will take you there. Or look it in the video description. You can clearly see it's a 0 if you're not sure.
Yeah.
Right. Let's look at the teams. These are the teams. Owen, your team is on the right. Yeah. I'm going to ask you what the thinking is behind your team.
I'm not the best fantasy Premier League player ever. I do know that You win points by having defenders that get goals and assists. So all of my defenders are basically, they're all fullbacks that get goals and assists. You're looking at Alexander-Arnold, who's got free kicks, corners, scores goals from open play. Same with Trippier, same with Cash as well. So that's one go with there. Keeper. I think did Alisson keep the most clean sheets last season? So that's part of because Liverpool don't concede many goals at all. Then I flood out the midfield with, again, because you get more points. This is what's weird about Fantasy Premier League, is that you get somehow kind of like more points if a midfielder scores a goal as opposed to a striker. You know what I mean? It's just good players don't necessarily make good Fantasy Premier League players. Like
You're going for
Kante
goal
is the worst.
scoring.
Exactly, or assists. So I've got Salah, who's the captain, because also you've got they're playing Fulham. They'll beat him.
He's
like
my triple captain. He is
straight away. Are you?
He's straight away, mate.
That's bold.
What is that? Why is that bold? What's that? What's wrong with that?
Because you can't use it again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But that's a fair. Yeah, but that's what I'll be. You may as well save it for Fulham and Anfield.
At home. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Right. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay, right. I'll take that off.
I got Zaha, because Zaha scores goals and they're playing Arsenal and I fancy him to get a goal. Bruno Guimaraes as well, because they're playing Forest at home and he was doing bits towards the end of last season. Yeah. Bruno is my United player in there because Bruno is
putting a United player in there, mate. God,
I don't like doing it. I really don't like doing it. I don't like putting United players in there because I feel like it jinxes us and all that kind of stuff. But I put Bruno in there. Yeah. But I put Bruno in there just because, look, he does get goals and assists. That is what he does. Stat padder, all that kind of stuff. Put Leon Bailey in there because he played really well against us in pre-season. He was cheap. Jesus, look, again, I've got no agenda against Jesus. I do think he'll score goals. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores tonight. And he was fairly cheap, wasn't he, as well? I think.
Yeah.
And also, I went for Harry Kane because Harry Kane that's what he does. Scores goals. I think got Southampton at home. Come on.
Yes.
What about you?
Scoring.
For what me, about you? By copying me. By copying me, actually.
I might have copied your formation.
You absolutely did.
Might have copied your formation, but I did not.
I sent him my team before.
You've copied some of my players. Bruno Guimaraes wasn't in yours before.
No, he absolutely. I have not touched my team. That is my team. You can go check the original screenshots.
Great minds think alike.
I sent him that, and he went, "Oh yeah, actually, I didn't know you could do that." Blah blah blah. Suddenly he started moving people out.
Mate. Learn my rules and I pick my team. That's it. But Darwin Nunez is a good alternative to Haaland because he's a lot cheaper, which I found quite surprising actually. Within that, so I think that's a good one. Salah as a banker, you got to have him. De Bruyne, I'm surprised you didn't put a De Bruyne. He's just a banker every single week. I started off going right. Who's my bankers? And I went Nunez, De Bruyne, Salah. I was like, that's the top level. I went with Grealish. Yeah, exactly, and goals as well, especially for De Bruyne. Odegaard, I think is going to have a strong season. I think with Arsenal being positive, I think he's going to have a lot to say assist-wise and goals. And Grealish, I think he's just going to come into his own because there's no Sterling there now. So he should
play games this season.
He's going to start the majority of the games, and City should benefit from that. And Trippier and James attacking fullbacks. Trippier takes the free kicks. James takes free kicks, deliveries, set corners, or whatever you want to call it, and scores. And Romero and Pope were kind of like fillers that were pretty good, but not as expensive as the elite in that position. So I think I got a good shout. I think I got a good shout there. So there you have it. Make sure you guys join in. Would love to see your teams as well. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Get your predictions in. Let us know if you think we're wide of the mark of a lot of what we've spoken about. Let us know if you agree with a lot of what we've spoken about. And also, Darwin Nunez versus Erling Haaland. I want to know who's going to score more goals. Is it not even going to be them? Who's going to get the golden boot? Owen, who's your golden boot favourite, actually, quickly?
Salah or Kane.
Which one? I'm going to push her. Who's going to be a golden boot winner?
Salah.
I'm going to go with Salah. Who's going to go down?
Promoted sides. Bournemouth, Fulham always go down. I'm going to go with all the promoted sides. Go down.
I'm going to go with, I think Forest will stay up and there'll be one shock Premier League team who goes down. I'm going to say
Everton.
I'm going to say Southampton. Who's going to win the league?
City, I think.
I think City will win
it again. Yeah.
I've got City again narrowly, but we know what's going to happen. It's going to be them two all the way to the end again. And what else was going on? Who's going to get top four?
City, Liverpool, Spurs, and
Arsenal getting it over Chelsea.
No, Chelsea. It'll be the same as it was last season.
Arsenal going to finish 5th and we're going to finish 6th.
I think we'll finish above Arsenal. How
I
about
did that. I did that, which means I had Arsenal finishing 6th because I thought they might, because they're tipped to do so well. I just think it won't work because they
Plus,
do
they're
look
playing
good.
in Europe. They weren't playing in Europe last
Yeah,
season.
playing in Europe. So yeah, we shall see. But get your predictions in. Anyway, guys, we're out of it. Take care. Smash the like on the video. We'll see you all again soon. Peace.